Well. It's good to be sitting here with you this week.
You just got me straight up like groovy slide into the mic on that one. You caught me till I'm like, hey, I'm here.
All right.
All right.
Is great. How are you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of Neighbors Don't Knock. Whether you are a neighbor right next door or far and wide, all of you out-of-town neighbors, we want to say hello. What's up?
I'm not so sure about if you're far and wide, but if you live far and wide, then welcome to the show.
It's one of those episodes, and I don't know.
We welcome everyone who is far and wide.
That's right. We discriminate against no one.
This is true.
And I was also even thinking, I didn't even realize that I did this. I reverted to the old school Budweiser. What's up?
You did.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. You got a really bad case of Arrested Development. I've known this about you for a while now.
I love that show. I
wasn't talking about the show.
Well, we have a great episode for you guys today. We have a special neighbor stopping by from True Anomaly Brewing Company, so we're going to get to him in just a moment.
Welcome to Neighbors Don't Knock, the show that brings you hilarious, unapologetic conversations only these neighbors can have. Join them and guests in their weekly mission to expand the neighborhood. Now, here's your hosts, Brian Chambers and Philip Goffrey.
What's going on, guys? And yes, that's right. All you far and wide neighbors, or wide and far, or however you want to put it.
If you weren't in the mood then, I know you're in the mood now, because that theme music, you can't not enjoy
I love it. I really
like it too.
So it's great. How have you been this week?
I've been all right, man.
Yeah?
I've been all right. Yeah, I'm ready for the Houston heat wave to come to an end.
It will never come to an end. Not right now. I'm kind of convinced, global warming, it's a thing. No, we're not getting into that this episode.
Or ever.
You guys are like, they're like, oh God, quick, change it. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. No,
Phil's gonna talk about how it's a conspiracy.
Another one. There's got to be one of you out there. I'm pretty sure there's one of our listeners and viewers that are watching that has a list of your conspiracies. And if you haven't, go back and check out previous other 6 seasons, because there's at least 4 or 5 conspiracies each season.
There are not. There are only 2. There are only two. Yeah. Kind of like the Fremantle Highway didn't light on fire because EVs were on board.
Oh, we shouldn't talk about things lighting on fire, especially with everything, all the fire happenings that have gone on.
This is true. And our hearts go out to Hawaii for sure.
That's right.
That's a rough deal. So
absolutely.
Fair point.
But we are, let's not even waste time. Let's get right into our guest.
I think so.
So this guest is, like we talked about, from True Anomaly Brewing Company. We're going to let them talk about it. You can find them here in Houston. They have a really unique backstory, which we're going to get into. But their narrative was 4 guys that start out in a garage with some brewing equipment and a dream. I don't even need to go any farther than that, except that I'm sitting here tasting a delicious brew right now from them, and I think let's waste no more time than getting him on the show with us. We're going to welcome Michael from True Anomaly Brewing Company. Hey, man.
Sir.
What's going on?
Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.
what's going on?
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for bringing beer.
Yeah, for sure. Brian, what a build up there.
What was it? I tried not to set the bar too high, right?
All right, yeah. So Texas Best Brewery of the Year 2023. Thank you very much.
There you go.
Congratulations on that, by
That's
the
a
way.
good leading line. We'll start with that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I appreciate it. No, thank you very much.
How do they give that award out? How do they? How do they?
Usually with a handshake.
No.
No, they give you medals and awards. No, it's a real award, guys.
It's
That's the best part.
It's a real thing. I can touch it.
Yeah, you can touch it. You can go up on stage. They take your picture. It's.
Do you guys have it behind like a glass
case in there as well?
Yeah. It's not quite the Oscars. It used to be more like the Golden Globes.
Fair.
I mean, it's in Texas. So the way they do it is you go to a brew competition. You submit a bunch of beers. Hopefully, they win some awards. You walk away with 1 or 2 of these things. You're on top of the world. You're doing great. This past year, we just hit home runs after homer, Altuve, and everything out there.
Sure sounds like the Oscars. He's patting himself on the back pretty well.
Yeah, we'll take it. Yeah, I mean, you got to take what you get, buddy.
Oh no!
So-
I understand.
So we got 3 gold medals, 2 silvers, and ultimately the Brewery of the Year.
Wow.
For 2023.
Congratulations on all that. That's amazing.
That is
Thank you. Yeah,
amazing.
it's very cool.
Who decides who's the judging? Like, who are the judges? Is it? Do you have to have a certain kind of credentials, or is
Absolutely,
is it a panel of everyone from the breweries that are entered?
No, so it's similar to a sommelier type judging.
Oh,
panel,
got it.
Right.
Okay.
So there's similar tasting profiles. You go through, you do a judging on the look, the style. There's style guidelines, right? So you submit a Pilsner or a Pale Ale or an IPA. Here's the guidelines of what that should be. How closely does this taste to that? And then amongst the peers on the table, how well does it shine against those, right? So it's selection process. It's based on the beers that are submitted and those that come out of it. So generally speaking, again, if Texas and the awards that we get here are the Golden Globes, then GABF, Great American Beer Festival, would be the Oscars.
Okay.
Right. And
Where's
then,
that held?
That's held in Denver every year. Actually, it's coming up here in September. We'll see if we can have a follow-on story.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess. And then outside of that is the World Beer Cup, and that's the international stage. So that's like the Cannes Film Festival. It's like prestigious.
Is that in Germany?
It's actually also usually in Denver. No, it's,
Everything's in Denver.
it is, man. Those guys rule the roost.
What are they doing?
Making money is what they're doing. No, but no, it skates around. So there's a convention that happens every year. It's tied to that convention. Next year, it's in Vegas.
Oh, okay, kind of like the
So-
Olympics. Somebody bids for it, maybe,
Yeah,
or
right.
something.
Yeah.
Got it.
Houston will get it one day. I don't know. Start making your bids now. Hashtag something.
There you
Get
go.
it here, Houston.
Yeah,
But,
there we
but
go.
so for the competition rather that you've already taken your prizes from, is that a one-day event or a multi-day event, a week-long event? How does that work?
So the festival, the award ceremony itself is a 1-day event. What we do is we submit beers, months prior. They taste those beers. They do, the down selection, and then ultimately we gather together. So GABF is Great American Beer Festival, as the name indicates. It's the nationwide largest festival. Breweries from across the nation come together and they taste their beers there, right? The idea is that people who are coming from large and wide get an idea of the beers and, have a good festival,
Sure.
taste beers and get, maybe some notes on where else maybe they should go. It being a destination type thing these days.
Well, one thing I never thought of a beer competition or someone being a sommelier for beer. Is that what they call somebody, or is it a different name?
So there's a BJCP certification. So it's a beer judging certification, right?
Okay.
And basically, you go through a very similar process. You identify beers. You demonstrate that you can understand, basic styles of beers, but also different regions of beers, off flavors. Off flavors are a big one. So if you're an everyday drinker, you probably don't familiar with that term, but you probably familiar with like skunk beer, right? You're like, oh, this beer sat out in the car for a week, or cycled a couple times, and now it has this kind of cardboardy, weird flavor to it. It's skunked. Right. So there's flavors like that we know, but maybe you don't have a pinpoint on it, that during the brewing process, maybe it's a profile or flavor profile you're not really going for, right? Like maybe banana or clove, or maybe really yeast forward, that maybe it could be a positive profile in another style of beer, but in this style of beer, you're not looking for it.
That's pretty complex. I mean, that's very complex. I mean, it almost seems like it's even more complex than what a wine sommelier goes through. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know for anyone out there if you're a wine sommelier.
And now offended.
Yeah, I know. No. I
don't
love
know what I went through.
I know, right? No, I know how difficult. I mean, it sounds like. I mean, I know wine sommeliers. It's very difficult to become a sommelier, and I'm assuming the same thing now hearing it from you. I just never thought of beer having someone like that, but now you think of all the craft beers these days that are made with so many different types of ingredients. It feels like there's almost infinite type of recipes that you can go with,
And there really are.
and trying to identify something like that, just like kind of like, oh, that has tasted like banana, and it must be from Denver,
Right. And we've really gotten to the point as well that, there's over 9,000 breweries in the United States, right? So this is the equivalence of like, how do you become a Michelin star restaurant, right? And
Yeah.
even if you become one, how do you continue proving yourself over the years to come. So we have, these breweries that have been around. Some are longer standing here in Houston. We know St. Arnold's been around for a long time, but nonetheless, they still have to be coming out, year over year. How am I standing up to these other new bucks showing up? How am I, treading through that? How am I continuing to grow in, this area plus other regions that I was, maybe looking at trying to gain territory in? Now, that's a little bit different because breweries have this distribution methodology that they utilize. But again, from a restaurant, how am I proving that I'm still a quality, proven, driven place, right? And more breweries are showing up. So how am I showing that not only do I have a plethora of product, but it's good quality product? And the more that show up, the stronger that competition gets. So every year these competitions come up and there's more restaurants, more brewers that are available, and they've been working longer and harder at their craft. So they should be a little better, year over year.
Let's talk about that in the Houston level for a second. So is your distribution network mostly local, despite the fact that you're competing nationally and you're up against this upwards of 9,000 craft breweries like you talked about?
Yeah, so we are. We're 100% local, and we will be for the future to come. I mean, some years to come.
Neighbors Don't Knock is produced by C&G Communications. C&G specializes in small batch voiceover and video production for commercial media, podcasting, radio, and more.
Combining years of experience in podcasting, acting, and sales, C&G offers big media products at small business prices.
That's right. To learn more, visit their Facebook page or email them directly at admin@cngcommunications.com.
Have you always been a beer guy? I mean, was there ever like a time where you're like, meh, and then you got into it maybe because of the process, or was there maybe one beer that was always like a comfort beer for you?
Yeah, 2 years old. I remember Busch
Did
Light.
you really? Wow.
No.
Yeah.
Started young.
Always, Brian. Always. No.
From day
Just
one.
testing the bottle. He was like,
That's right.
that's what I want.
Yeah. And then they introduced me to Natural Light. Now, let you tell you what. Oh, my.
Things just got crazy.
Yeah, it did.
So how was your home life?
Yeah.
For a little bit?
All I can picture is like Johnny Lawrence's apartment, Coors Banquet everywhere.
Yeah, interesting.
All right. So starting out as a young connoisseur of beer.
No,
at one
so
point.
I mean, I had my college days like everybody else, quantity over quality for the most part.
Keystone Light,
whatever
Milwaukee's
you could get,
best.
right? Yeah, that was all great. And so, little quick note: I went to A&M. Shiner was the rule, the roost
Of
over
course,
there, and
yeah.
you can get pitchers for like $4 or something.
I went to Tech. I think Keystone Light at the time when I was there was like huge. Keystone and Miller and
Yeah, but Shiner's,
and Milwaukee's.
Shiner's
And Lone Star. Lone Star was always big.
Yeah, and then
up
they
in
came
Lubbock.
out with Keystone Ice, which was just a higher AB version of the same beer.
Is that like Zima?
Yeah. No, that was a different thing.
Oh.
I've never even heard of that. Keystone Ice. Oh my gosh.
So it wasn't until later though, honestly.
Okay.
So it was later on, and honestly, I went through a wine phase and a Scotch phase and a whiskey phase and different things. I still enjoy all those beverages, but I just really
Your poor liver.
took took the tour de force of beverages, right?
So when is the transplant? When's
Well, we're on to vodka next, so we'll see. I feel like it should be shortcoming. So eventually, I ended up at NASA, right? And that was my first full-time career out of college. Started getting some disposable income. Fell in with a group of guys who I was already friends with, a couple, but started brewing together and really learning from some graybeards that had been brewing years, decades. So,
Now, are we talking like home brewing, basically?
homebrew? Everything was
like
homebrewing before.
the bucket, the bucket in the
St. Arnold's was
closet.
the only one brewing commercially in Houston. So
was
if
it?
you're brewing with anybody 15 years ago as a home brewer.
Did you never try
yeah.
that? Like you could get the homebrew kits, like the
No,
buckets,
no.
so you could leave them in your closet or something or whatever.
No, I have friends that do it, but I'm
See,
not
Brian,
that
this is
adventurous.
why nobody was successful. 'Cause
Yeah.
they were like, you throw it in your closet. Yeah.
Few
Dip
days
a
later,
little
you have
flannel
beer,
in
yeah.
there. And you're like, is it a Scotch ale? What is
Just
this?
A little sugar, right? I don't know.
Is it barrel aged? Sure.
Yeah.
I'm over a barrel.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. So that's why it doesn't work for everybody. So the
There we go.
so were
the
you-
patient. I feel like it's the patience aspect of it.
Were
Like
you-
most people
no,
aren't,
it is.
aren't
Like
patient,
I told
aren't
you, it's
patient
every
enough.
4 weeks. You got to go at
Yeah.
it. We were very fortunate. We learned from a bunch of people that had the patience. And again, these are other NASA nerds that we had got ingrained with. Again, we're working over there. Very diligent engineering type, right? I mean, SOPs, standard operating procedures, they have them down, notebooks, they understand the process. You know,
Notebooks, they write things down.
they do write so many things down. So
Even when
and
you're,
they
even when they
encourage you to
shouldn't, just
do
like
it.
stop writing. Stop.
Yeah.
What? Stop
No.
writing. Stop writing.
No, I swear to God, the first time we went and brewed was just sitting in a corner and just, yes, sir. Right. And, oh, yes, sir. More no, Play-Doh. Okay, yes, sir. That was it. So,
And you guys all met at A&M?
no.
was like,
So
no?
my partners, so there's Tom. Tom went over to Wisconsin, University of Wisconsin. David went to Iowa State, and then Ben went to University of Texas. So a couple Texans, a couple out-of-staters, but all ended up at NASA. NASA does a good job of recruiting some good talent. So we took advantage of that, peeled into that circuit or pipeline, if you will.
And all four of you were engineers?
So they're engineers. I don't claim to be an engineer. I'm on the business side of things.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm the CEO running the company now. At NASA, I was the contracting lead for the Orion program. So I did all the contract negotiations. I did contract review. I represented NASA across the table, trying to figure out best price and making sure that rockets got where they needed to go.
Was there one thing specific that grabbed you about NASA while you were working there that you just absolutely loved? Was it the people or just the fact of what you were doing?
So the people for sure, I'll come back to that in a second. But as far as mission scope, very naivete, right? You come into any new work field or force, I was early 20s and, the mission scope that they set out was, we're going to do this by, that was in the 2005 timeframe. So, they were saying in 2010, we're going to do this. And in 2012, we're going to do that. And looking at it going, God, that's forever away.
Yeah.
How we're gonna do that? I mean, like,
Be working here for the rest of
right? Like, am I gonna still be? Are we still gonna be alive? Like, what's going on, guy? Like, what are we doing today?
My great grandkids taking over my project.
So, but working in that environment and then getting ingrained in that, saying, yeah, these missions they do take this this time period that you have to set yourself to and understand so many complex pieces and in project management, right? Just in general, you got this Gantt chart, everything going together where it's going to fit, yada, yada. And a lot more layers of difficulty therein as well. But, you're trying to, you think about these things, when they happen, but then you get in the mix of it and you find out, man, it takes forever to make it happen. This is the project length that things take to fruition. And encourages you as a small business owner or anybody with a project of any size to come in and say, hey, we have to think long term here. What are going to be the small steps that we need to put in place to get us to where we want to be in year 2 or year 3 or year 5, right? And what can we be thinking? And it gets you in that perpetual state of motion of saying, all right, we've got accomplished in year 1 or 2 what we wanted. How do we look past that? And how do we look towards the next big thing? And how do we keep growing that? So bar none, I give, I got my original education down in College Station, but NASA gave me my second and third level education through everything they did for me in the 15 years I was there.
I mean, it sounds, you can see kind of how excited you are talking about it. So why leave for beer?
Because I tell you, they were going nowhere.
You just answered. Why leave? Well, for beer.
Yeah. So, there aren't too many things that can take you away from space, but beer might just be one of them, and it was for us. So,
Okay.
So we had, talking earlier, right, we had been doing the homebrew thing, and we've been doing it for a while. We had a great set of mentors that guided us through that, got us to where we needed to be. And eventually we started entering some brew competitions. We started, hosting events or participating in events for loved ones that said, hey, your beer's getting good, and it's free. So, that's even better.
That's usually most people will just be like, whatever.
So,
it tastes better when they say it's free.
No, 100%.
100%,
It's
yeah.
like,
Every meal I've ever had that was
It's
free
it's
was
free. Oh,
20%
God, this
better.
is-
Yeah.
Wow, you're generous. Like, you're not as generous as I am. I need to maybe lower raise my standards a little bit. I'm always like 50%. It's like, this is amazing.
Yeah. This is why you don't
Like-
judge beer competitions.
This is
We're gonna have to
exactly,
get more.
this is exactly why I don't judge beer competitions.
That and he's like, dissing sommeliers left and right. Like,
Here you go, Mr. Chambers. I'm like, oh man, gold. Wait.
Yeah.
Are you chewing
Double
gum?
gold.
Yeah, that's right.
was that Banaka? Get out of here.
What do I owe you? It's free. It was amazing.
Well, okay, so let me interrupt you for 1 second because it brings up some questions for me with that sort of NASA upbringing and that moonshot kind of eye on how you're going to build out the business. Did that affect everything from like your location choices all the way to your styles of beer, or was it more, hey, let's do this, and then grab a lease where we can find a cheap place to rent and make it happen?
Well, because you guys talk about how different you guys are, and it's part of your DNA to take risk. I mean, I assume that's coming from that NASA background, but like Philip was just saying, was that the immediate set in, or was like what he was saying, we just got to figure something out with what we're doing?
Yeah, so I think we've always erred towards caution. And I think, again, you get enough engineers in a room, and even if you got the one sane guy in the corner trying to steer them in the right direction, you get a lot of analysis paralysis, right? I mean, you want data, you're used to gathering data and just having a plethora of it so you can make, discretions on what you need to, put funding on or attention or resources towards. And in that way, we probably did elongate the, business planning process. It took us a good 2 years to actually stand up what we thought was what we needed to stand up and get everything outlined to go forward and execute the business plan.
What year was it that True Anomaly was actually founded and formed?
So Apogee Brewing, which is the
is that your original
principal?
name?
Yeah. So Apogee Brewing, DBA, True Anomaly Brewing.
Okay.
Okay.
So getting on the business side here for the business nerds of it. So Apogee Brewing LLC was established in 2013. So in February of 2013, we actually were established, and we entered into a contract brewer type relationship, which was then Buffalo Bayou Brewing Company. So if you know Buffalo Bayou, then off of Nolda, now they have the location near Washington.
Right.
And they've recently been sold off to a venture capital.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of movements. So, that was 10 plus years ago. We were thinking, hey, how can we make this move? What can we make happen? We entered into that with them. They ended up brewing a beer that we had created through our home brewing, produced it, provided it commercially across the Houston markets, gave us some insight into that methodology, the models. And that's really what we were looking for. We weren't looking for some royalty payout, like, hey, here's our product. And
right, more about the experience.
Just
than the,
really, it was just us as, young bucks coming in and being like, I don't know anything about this. You're an operating brewery. You can produce our product and then put it all across town. Wow, great. Can we learn from that?
And this is all you guys are working full time still.
We're still all full time NASA, doing about our business, and then just showing up and doing this as a side thing. And really, at this point, again, analysis paralysis. What do we need? We need more information. Oh, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go do this, and then we'll really figure out,
it just
what's
sounds
going
like...
on into the brewing world and how we distribute things. And
I'm hearing like after work hanging out. It's like, dude, we should totally start a bar. We should open a bar. That's what I'm picturing. It's like, it's been a hard day at work. It's like, I could make this. We should totally open a bar. It's like, but you guys took it being NASA a step further. No, we should open a brewery.
And then we met 3 times a week for 3 hours a week every week after work.
Well, you got to research.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, but yes, it was a long road there, but eventually we ended up with, okay, hey, we got to we got to the point. We got to execute or move on, right? That was the nice way of saying it, right? But that's where we came to a head on, right? And said, okay, so what's it going to take to do this? And we came up, okay, well, we got to go raise some money, right? And that number then was about $1 million. So if we go raise $1 million, to your question earlier, Philip, where are we going to put this place? Where does that look like? What equipment are we doing? That's how we came to that figure. What do we actually need to do it? And we did decide at that time, hey, we want to be in downtown Houston.
Okay.
We wanted to be in Houston proper, because most of us at that time actually lived in Clear Lake, and we were operating out of the Johnson Space Center and living in a little circle. But we said, hey, we feel like this is a more Houston specific identity we have with this brand and what we want to do here. And we're transitioning to that area. Now I live in the East End. I live a mile and a half from the brewery. And everybody else does too, right? So like we wanted to be identified as Houston, not Clear Lake, I guess. And that sense.
That's a good point though, because it is a very big distinction, in my opinion. Because once you get out towards Clear Lake in that area, it's a different vibe. We don't want to say it's not Houston, but it's just a very different vibe. So I kind of understand why you guys would want to do that. And for our viewers and our listeners, we'll throw up this map if you're in the Houston area, as long as this website as well, for True Anomaly Brewing. But they are located over in East Downtown. And if you've ever been over towards Tiny Champions, which is a great little pizza place over that way, love Tiny Champions over there. Over that way, you can catch them and find them and check them out a little bit. Now, you guys have it's just a brewery. You don't do food or restaurant, it's not a restaurant with it.
Yeah, currently no. So,
okay. And any works or talks about that?
Yeah, so we are. So twofold there actually. So we have our current location that's on 2012 Dallas Street, St. Emmanuel, a few blocks down from the Dynamo Dash Stadium, about 6 blocks down from the Minute Maid Stadium. So if you're in that area, you're hanging out, you're gonna see our place, and probably have walked by it, not even knowing it.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have to start coming down that way now because I love the Astros. So walking distance is always a good thing.
Oh yeah, we have loads of Astros fans. We're on the backside of GRB as well, so the convention center's there. I mean, and now we're in what I would call true post-COVID era now, where, and again, as an indicator, business indicator, GRB hasn't had any cancellations. They've been going in Monday through Friday, conventions, utilizations way up. And we see that, again, through the normal, NAPE type convention things, but also then those annual type things, but also volleyball competitions and, random one-off, quinceañera or wedding rehearsal or whatever type things that they're filling in the slots and people are eager to fill in. And we're seeing that and just in that district, in that region. Again, it's a business indicator.
Well, and East Downtown is blowing up pretty big.
Oh, yeah. And we're getting a lot of other stuff coming in. We've got, so across the street from us, we've got, if you're familiar with Agricole, which is the holding that has Cultivari, 8 Row Flint.
Oh, yeah.
They have across the street from us Vinny's, and they have 2 other concepts that are actually getting revamped right now. So not trying to give them a big plug, but here you go. They're getting a little Tex-Mex place over there.
Indianola's changing.
Indianola's getting
and Miss Carousel. Yeah. So I know that. Yeah.
Indianola's turning into a little Tex-Mex place, and Miss Carousel's turning into more of a sports bar type thing.
Yeah.
And I think they are trying to relate better to the, I guess, mix in the area. So over in the East End, they had an upscale American place, and they had a kind of upscale cocktail place. And across the street, we've got Truck Yard, and we've got pizza, and we've got burgers, and we got 2 different breweries. We got Eighth Wonder on one side, True Anomaly on the other one. We've got
all the sports stadiums and everything right there.
Right, so it does lend itself to just more of a sport. People are coming, they're parking, they're hanging out for a while, and they're coming over from the GRB. They're looking for a quick bite. They're transient in the sense of, I'm here for a volleyball thing, or I'm here for, checking out some equipment for some pipelines or something, so I just need a bite, see the area, let's get out of here type thing.
So in terms of your brewery though, do you see a lot of bleed off from that? A lot of people that come over, hey, I heard about you guys, I'm in town for this, at the convention center. I'm
more than we expected.
Yeah.
Oh, quite really? Honestly, especially right out of the gate.
That's great.
Year one, yeah. And it's not something we banked on. Honestly, we concentrate on Houston, really focused on Houston, being in that sports entertainment district, if you will, surrounded by the Toyota Center, the other ones we talked about, Minute Maid. George R. Brown was like, oh, okay, it'd be a nice bonus. We'll see. Certainly, we have an event space there as well. We said, okay, we can get some events off there. And we do. Consistently, we get 2-3 events a week off of, corporate happy hours, people having, whatever, sit and stays, whatever they're doing for their corporate stuff, right? So that was a bit of a boon on our end. Didn't really expect it. And then in general, we have travelers coming through that are going back to Tennessee or Asheville or, Denver or West Coast and passing on to their friends that are coming to other conferences, and because George R. Brown,
Denver.
Yeah. But
Sneaky,
it's
sneaky,
this
sneaky. They're checking out the competition.
Yeah. And it's these convention circuits, right? That they do the circuits, right? And then one guy talks to another guy, and they're in another circuit, and then it kind of gets passed on, and that's kind of where we got this surprising, like, oh wow, like somebody came in from Asheville. It was like, oh yeah, my buddy. He told me, hey, if you're going through Houston for this convention, go check them out. And they're, right on the other side. It's like,
That's
okay.
very cool. That's very cool. I like that, actually. I like the idea because, for our viewers, all you have to do is go to their website and look at the names of the beers to know this is a very Houston-centric business, especially with all the space theme and the NASA theme and all that, which I think is very, very cool.
And that website's going to be in the link in the episode description, but you can go to trueanomalybrewing.com.
That's the one.
And that's only a few sips of beer for you too. That's impressive. But I like the idea of sort of sharing that Houston identity with people that are just passing through. Right, I think that's really, really neat.
Right. And honestly, and again, we're circling around some of these conversations, but we're getting to all the meat of it eventually, right? So that's
kind of how we do it.
Yeah. But in that same sense, that's why we chose a location to be Houston specific. We wanted to, lend it, be quality beer driven, be Houston specific, and give a little bit of a nod to the background of space and its huge cultural mark across the nation, but specifically here in Houston as well. And something that's just 30 minutes away, 20 minutes for some people, from getting down to Clear Lake and being able to go to Rocket Park, which again was one of our beer namesakes, right? Seeing the Rockets in there, which have a few of their namesakes on there. But, and seeing these things that are great historic markers for the nation, and it lives in your backyard. And it's this great thing that I honestly think we should be pretty proud of. I'm a native Texan. I wasn't born in Houston, but I'm a native Texan all around Texas. And for me, like, this has always been a point of pride. And I think even for a lot of Texans, and that, we've got Houston Mission Control Center. It's right here. It lives in our backyard. It's something we should be excited and proud about. And it's 100% accessible. So for us to come out with beers and things that lend themselves to, pointing some, little bit of love in that direction, or to highlight, some of the great things that they have down there. That's what, is part of our mission set of saying, hey, if we could do that, if we can help bolster the city and, space in general as part of also getting people excited about great quality beer. All right. That's awesome.
Yeah, I really love that. And I think it's important because I think that people who are traveling to Houston from out of town, I think that they share that kind of pride in the American space program and in all the achievements that NASA and now the private sector has made in this country in terms of exploration. But it's easy to forget, right? If you don't live in Houston, if you're not kind of surrounded by it as a Texan, I can see how people kind of don't think about it. So to come into True Anomaly and have that reminder and that experience, even for non-Houstonians, I bet that's very cool. A little bit of a, wow, this is a cultural thing. This is really, really neat.
No, it really is. And for us personally, it was a hard decision leaving NASA. You asked me earlier, why'd you make this decision? You're leaving. Oh, beer. Yeah, sure, beer. Just for beer.
Well, you made it sound so easy.
Yeah. But, it was. I mean, the mission's great. We're doing this stuff, but I still get to see them day in and day out. And I still get to see people get excited about space and talk about space, so I'm still a space nerd, right? At the end of the day,
I still
have the Lego sets. I still do it. I still have a lot of friends in the industry. I know what's going on, and we're continuing to pursue, opportunities with people that are in the space sphere. Right?
I was actually going to ask you about that. Do you guys have a lot of colleagues that come to your brewery, or do you do anything in conjunction with them?
We do a lot of different things. So actually, we got a couple collaborations we're working with right now. Actually, I brought one beer. We'll talk about it maybe a little later. Peggy is a beer that we did with Axiom Space. So,
that's cool.
And it's the first ever, to my knowledge, astronaut beer collaboration. So Peggy Whitson went up as the mission commander for AX2. She was previously a NASA astronaut, now privatized. So this is the first opportunity venture, really, where privatized astronauts can now go in and have NIL type things offered in the public sphere, right? Because under the NASA sphere, you can't go promote a beer brand or any specific one for that matter or anything like that.
They don't take beer to space?
No, carbonation in general, not great. Yeah. I'd call that a bomb, Brian.
They haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah. So, but we'll let you know when we get there. It's the,
you guys behind the scenes working it.
Boom, straight into the wall, breaks a freaking clavicle.
Yeah. That'd be clavicle would be the least of it. Honestly, we'd be okay if it was the clavicle. No, so we're working with those guys, pushing the boundaries of not only NASA but just commercial space. And you were mentioning just how it's getting privatized and bigger focus. We did that huge venture for us. And honestly, it was really, really cool. It was special. We were able to promote it, and Peggy loved it. We actually worked with her on the style of the beer and what she liked out of it. And we're continuing to work with those guys. So we've got new projects coming up with them. We're working with Rice, actually, University. We're going to be the official craft beer of Rice Athletics coming up.
Oh, wow.
This next
wow. Congratulations on that. That's fantastic.
Or actually for the next few years. Yeah. So we just signed off with those guys. So keeping it local focused. And again, that's where the to the moon speech came from, right? Like, why do we go to the moon? JFK speech came out of Rice, right? So there's a lot of unique Houston-specific elements that we lean into, and I think that Houston culturally has a great story to tell. And we just happen to be a vehicle right now that can help connect the dots in some ways to say, hey, we're utilizing Rice, helping build that story and that great space connection. We're talking to Axiom Space. We're talking to NASA, working with some of those guys. We're, looking outside that sphere, but we're also talking to beer bars and HEB and, Total Wine and whoever. And cool. Getting those products out into those locations. So, when you pick up the can, maybe you see it has a name on it. If you're into it, 100% on our website and some other locations, you can find out, hey, what does that name mean? Small Giant. We were tasting this earlier, just a nice little starter. Small Giant's a Neil Armstrong quote. And he was talking about being on the moon and, blotting out the earth with his thumb. And, I didn't feel like a giant at all. I felt very, very small. Right? Like Small Giant.
So you give actual
things like that.
You give actual explanations of the names on the website and all that?
Yeah.
That is very cool.
And that's where, again, you look at the name, you order in a beer, you don't care. You're like, I just need something light and easy. Small Giant, give it to me. All right, easy breezy. But if, you get into it and you start connecting the dots and you learn this about us and space is interesting to you, we don't try to be too on the nose in your face, like some hidden gems here and there. And that really lend themselves to the stories of Johnson Space Center or space in general that, isn't just rocket fuel or something like that. Not to,
that's a news radio reference right there.
Yeah. So,
rocket fuel.
Yeah.
So, malt liquor.
So
I'm picturing like Mr. Miyagi now. Small giant to make a great hangover.
I always, there's sometimes when it's like buying for a cool label, right? When you're like, I don't know what to pick, and you're like, I like the name of that, and so it does kind of play into that, even for a consumer point of view, because some people honestly would pick it up, and then all of a sudden now you have somebody that if they love it,
and we've gotten that feedback, 100% we have, and I'm not ashamed to. You think it's a cool label? Great, I made them.
Yeah,
take it. Let's go.
100% disclosure.
Get the feedback there too. Nom, I'll eat it up.
Heck yeah, 100% disclosure, man. My wife literally shops 100% by the label.
Oh, really?
Everything. Oh, yeah. Wine, beer, whatever it is. She's like, I love the way that looks. I'll take 2 of those.
Ramen. She's like, those noodles. Did you see the wave? No, it was the one.
They were free, 10 times better.
You can tell they were dehydrated in just the right way by the swiggle.
That's right. Are we ready to taste some of these beers, though?
We are.
Think so.
And, for our listeners and viewers, we're going to get a little bit more into the social aspects of the beer brewing company and a little bit of a taste test here. And Mike's going to do a little taste test and see if he can identify his own beer. So if you want to catch the part 2 here with Michael and see if he can identify his own beer, well, you're going to have to tune in. You're going to have to come back.
Yeah, you can see us talk about being social by getting social over a few rounds. I like it.
That's right. And make sure you could throw some love to your neighbors out there. Also, you can catch other episodes of Neighbors Don't Knock wherever you get your podcast or on our YouTube channel. Links in the episode description. Go back and check out some previous seasons. We've had great guests and great neighbors.
We drop every Friday.
That's right. All right. We'll catch you guys next week with Michael. Peace.
Out.
Pew, pew, pew.